Oh, no countdown today, Brian? Oh my god.
I don't know what I was thinking.
what a
I hit
fantastic
I hit the
what a
wrong button.
fantastic open this morning. Or this evening. Oh my gosh, you said how you were sitting there going like oh yeah, are you
How am
ready
I
for
going to
this? Oh,
sabotage the live stream tonight?
Well,
so
here we
I
Oh
was
are.
my
like, okay,
god.
I said I got 30 seconds to like make sure I get my phone pulled up to get my notes ready
My
for
bad.
some of the quick hitters tonight. And
My
then I
bad,
just heard you
guys.
say,
It's been a
well,
week.
maybe not. And I'm sitting there going, oh crap. Like
My
he
bad.
said, we're going cold open this evening, and I was unprepared.
I hit the wrong button.
Oh man, I had a quick question for you guys though. I did have something fun. Also, hello everyone. Welcome to Star Wars Newsnet Live on this Thursday evening. Can't
We're
wait
clearly
to
professionals here, by the way.
Oh, you're here.
Hello there. So my question for you this evening, I'll give you a few seconds to think about it. You are starting a band, and you cannot choose anyone from the Max Rebo crew. So you can't tell me Max Rebo. You're starting a band in Star Wars. Who are the first two people you are approaching to start this band? I will give you guys some pointers, but first I'm going with Wicket because I saw how those Ewoks played the drums in Return of the Jedi, and I'm sure that if I got Wicket something to play on besides the helmets of the beheaded stormtroopers that they took out in Return of the Jedi, that you just need a good drummer, a good percussionist, in the background if you're in this band. So I'm definitely going with Wicket. And then I am telling you right now that Jar Jar Binks on like the electric guitar would absolutely slay. I feel like if you think of any iconic like rock band from maybe like the 70s, 80s, 90s, there's always just, something that stands out, like a quirkiness, a weirdness that just really pops off of the stage. And you're telling me that Jar Jar, when he is just absolutely like slaying on the guitar, sticking his 12-meter tongue out into the audience, doing the like blah, 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 like thing while he's playing, like that's iconic. That could go viral. We need that in today's day and age. It's hard to be seen. It's hard to be noticed. And I feel like those two elements right there, having a furry teddy bear in the background, coupled with Jar Jar on the electric guitar, I think that suddenly we have the makings of like a special band, and I can kind of just sink into the background a little bit, which is where I probably thrive best in this scenario. So I'm curious, after giving you enough time, stalling here for you two to think about what you're going to go with, because I put you on the spot. You're starting a band in Star Wars. You need two characters. Like, who are the first two people you are approaching? Brian, who is it?
Let's go Hondo Anaka.
Oh, yes.
He has some wicked stage presence. And I'm gonna go. I think Afro would be a pretty good backup singer. I've never heard her voice.
Oh.
Well, I mean, kind of have with the audiobook, but I think she'd do all right.
So something about Hondo that stands out to me is fantastic, but also this seems a little bit risky. Like, I guess one thing that's great about every band too is like the breakup story for the band. I think Hondo would ensure that you have a great breakup story.
To lead the Onaka gang.
Because he would just, after the first or second, hit, be like, I should be running this thing myself, and probably start his own band. And so
they all left me, but as my sweet mother used to say, come up with some parable.
One of my favorite parts about Hondo was when he told Ezra, like, "Oh, you're a Jedi. I knew it." Like, one of my best friends was a Jedi. Well, at least I think we were friends. Jay, what two characters you're starting your Star Wars band with?
I would select Ahsoka because I think she'd be pretty sick on the drums. And then
as long as you do not say Padme or Qui-Gon, given
he done killed them both, so they can't be.
Yeah. Or Mace Windu. Yeah. No, Ahsoka Tano should be on the drums, and then I think I'd select Zine from the High Republic Adventures.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, that's just.
She's actually like a singer in that
one.
The
show.
So yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like in Midnight Horizon, when they literally need her to put on a performance to cause like this distraction, so
She's
the rest
like
of
the
them.
Taylor Swift of the Star Wars universe.
Yes, she just comes
Yeah.
out. Just what's the Visions season 1 episode where it's like the band and they play for Jabba the Hutt?
Something Rhapsody. What was it?
Yes,
Tatooine Rhapsody.
Tatooine Rhapsody. That was
Yeah.
that episode. I thought was gonna be the worst thing ever, and it was maybe my favorite Visions episode of season 1. That was just fantastic. So, hello, everyone tuning in. Star Wars News at Live always starts off. This has maybe been my favorite opening to any show. We had technical difficulties / Brian. I was just saying technical difficulties. I'm not saying I'm not throwing. I was just saying that could have been anything. Brian, you pointed at yourself.
I don't know.
was not saying.
So did Lando. He's like, or Han when Lando's calling him out.
And so that was fun. And so I was gonna ask you guys that anyway, but I think it just worked out better this way. So
let's
we
talk
have a lot
about
to
bands
talk
with
about
no
today.
intro music. That's a great idea.
we got some quick hitters tonight before we talk everything from episode 4 of the Bad Batch, which I absolutely adored. I loved it. It was fantastic. We're gonna get into that. First thing first, I have 1, 2, like 3, 4, maybe 5 quick hitters for us tonight. First one, I don't know if you guys saw this from Empire Magazine, talked about how Hayden Christensen, when he was doing the younglings scene where he was going to murder the younglings, he like growled or like yelled at them in order to elicit like the reaction, I guess he wanted, but also to help get into like character and set the tone. I'd heard that somewhere. I don't remember if I had heard it in a previous like Hayden Christensen interview or it was just something that made its way through the ether. But my question for you is, if you are one of the younglings and you're in that scenario, do you still remember that you were a child actor, or are you genuinely afraid for your life, Jay?
Well, what an odd question. What an odd question is this, Tyler? Would I remember if I'm an
You
actor?
should know by now. You should never know what you're gonna expect here. Never know what you're gonna get.
Well, I mean, considering that, I don't know, like you're okay, so I'm trying to like picture myself as a child actor on that set, and it's probably just gonna be a bunch of green screen, and like Hayden Christensen there, just like growling and yelling.
Who you've probably never interacted with because you have this 5-second scene with probably.
You have no idea the context of the scene.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah, like I'll say this, like considering like the reaction that the kids got, and like that explanation makes a whole lot more sense now. Like that makes sense that he would try and do that to get the reaction.
Right.
I don't know, man. What an odd question to start off with.
And I have a different one for Brian.
Oh crap!
I hear Brian's now.
So no. This is different. Brian's got a different question. Is Brian? What do you think Hayden's growl was like? What do you think that was like? And give me your best. What's your best impersonation? Your best Hayden Christensen, Revenge of the Sith growl, snarl.
If I was trying to scare an 8-year-old, how old do you think he was? 6, 7? Probably 7-ish.
Like between 6 and 8.
What would I do to scare my son? I don't know. If you're standing there, because you got to do it at the same time, you like flick your wrist for the lightsaber. So I don't know.
That's pretty good.
Something. Yeah. I don't know.
That's so good. Next thing, I don't know if you guys saw the cryptic like Ahmed best message that he put out there with all of the little Star Wars. I almost said Star Trek. All the Star Wars hashtags in his answer is so I think, Jay, did you write up the piece for Newsnet on this one? Yes. So maybe you can give some insight into this, because everyone on Twitter was like, what does this mean? Is there like, because he's doing video game work, it looks like, for like, is it like Activision or something? Go ahead. And you take that away.
So I wrote the piece up on Ahmed Best because on his Instagram, he posted a photo of himself in a mocap suit with the caption, "Just when I thought that I was out, they pulled me back in." The Godfather 3 line.
Right.
And it's him in a mocap suit, and it has the hashtags Star Wars, Jar Jar Binks, like Keller and Beck, Star Wars
Mhm.
related stuff, and then also
Like,
in the mix is Activision, hashtag Activision,
yeah,
which, you know, like he doesn't like this. The Star Wars stuff is a little bit more common. He puts that on his other stuff, but
right.
Activision was definitely, you know, like deliberate and unique.
Hmm.
Activision, for those who don't know, is part of Activision Blizzard, and they work on the Call of Duty franchise. They put out a whole bunch of like big titles, but Call of Duty being the big one. So that's led to, you know, a lot of people being like, okay, he's working with Activision now. Is it Star Wars related? We have no idea, no clue.
So let's just drag this out. I'm going to take this as a canon event sign that, the people, Activision, they're working on Call of Duty. They're somehow developing Jar Jar's origin story video game here, where you're going to just be the Gungan, single player, role player Gungan solo story where you're going to jump really high for no reason to climb things. And you're going to use your tongue to grab objects, over there, like apples, other fruits. And it's just a solo quest to find out how Jar Jar ultimately is so clumsy that he gets banished from the main Gungan city. So, Brian, will you be picking up that video game from day one and, going 100% completion on the story mode?
No. It's like the final boss is gonna be the boss's hay liver. Like that's what the final boss is gonna be. No, no. I don't know what this is gonna be.
You have
If
to be
it's
so clumsy and so bad for
I
Boss Nass at the end of the game to go. If he doesn't do that, you don't win.
You know what's funny? Actually, I watched Phantom Menace last night. Don't ask me why. I just did. But I noticed that Boss Nass is like a different species of Gungan. Like his eyeballs are actually
Oh
sunk into his
yeah,
head.
no,
Like
that's a
I've
good
never
point.
noticed that before until I was like, how have I like 25 years of watching this? I've never noticed that before. But anyway, I think it has something to
I
do
always
with
thought he was a frog.
Kelleran. Yeah, right.
Like growing
Um,
up, I always thought he was like a frog guy.
I
And then we
I
got frog people, and then I realized I was wrong.
I'm wanting more Kelleran Beck because he's been mentioned a lot more in
Mhm.
some of the last couple novels that I've read. He's mentioned quite a bit in Rise of the Red Blade, and so yeah, I'd like to see some more Kelleran Beck, especially since that's kind of his redeeming role in Star Wars.
Mhm.
And he's back with a passion and he's loving it, and and everybody's embraced him so much. I want to see more of that character.
So this ties into the next thing we're going to talk about, which is the Grogu Mando movie is going to shoot like for 92 days in California this summer. And first of all, that's, I don't know, for a feature film, it feels like a fast shoot. I know that Miguel was kind of talking about it as Star Wars uh, piece every Sunday. That typically, for a feature film, you're going to have looking at like a 6-month shoot or something around those lines. And this is shaping up to be, in terms of just business days, about 3.5, 4 months of shooting. And I'm curious what you guys think about that, because obviously the volume is going to be used quite a bit in
Yeah.
this. But I guess another question is for maybe some of the Jedi element in this, could we see, and this is not related to his post at all. I'm not trying to say his post related to this, but it did make me start wondering about, like, could we end up seeing Kelleran Beck in the
Great.
Grogu Mando movie, because we never saw what happened to him in the flashback scene. We just know
Right.
that he's the one that got Grogu out.
Passed him off like
So,
a baton.
if he got
It,
Grogu out, could he have survived what happened afterwards with the clones? Like, is that possible? And
is that
could
the
we see
only
it
shooting?
in the future?
Like, is that the only shooting schedule? Or is there other stuff like on location outside of that?
I
Like, are they
do
only
not.
shooting for those
I
days in
I am
California and
I am
then
assuming that it's only for those days in California, because it
okay,
seemed like that's too short of a
right?
span to shoot a full feature film.
Maybe some of
Uh,
it's going to be on location somewhere. I don't,
but I have no idea. It may be
yeah,
like that's the only. I'll have to consult what Miguel put again. It may be that that's the only
yeah.
time, because they are
That
doing
does
so
seem
much in the
short.
volume, I'm sure. However, so I'm curious on that. But then also, like, could we see? You think there's a chance we could see Kelleran Beck again in the movie, and he could provide maybe if they don't want to go the Luke Skywalker route because they've already done that, this could be another way to introduce some elements of the Force again into the
God,
story
how
with
old would he be at
Jedi.
that point?
You'd have to be. I
He'd
mean,
be up there
it's what
30 or
20-ish
40 years.
something.
You're looking at
No,
like
not
30. Well,
no,
no, you're
because
looking
it's
like 30
been
years,
yeah.
30-ish. 30-ish years. Let's say he was in his 30s or 40s. Yeah, he'd be 60s or 70s. I mean, it's
Be up there.
possible. Yeah, it's possible.
What do you think, Jay?
So is this in relation to the Activision thing still,
No, no,
or
no. It just made
okay?
me. It just made me think like we never saw what happened to that character, and
Yeah,
I don't. And I'm typically someone that comes on here and says I don't need to see what happens to every character in Star Wars, but it is interesting to think about that character specifically who we just got a few seconds of,
yeah.
like, and he has a connection to one of the two main characters from this movie, and everyone loves Jedi and all of that. And Ahmed Best coming back has been really fun. So, I wonder if there's a chance we even maybe it's a flashback sequence again or something else, but you think there's a chance he could even come back for the movie, I guess.
I say so. I think that that would actually be a really cool moment. I mean, he already had a small scene in The Mandalorian season 3, but to have Ahmed Best back in a full feature film, that'd be fantastic. That'd be great.
That I almost I understand this is like a feature film and this is almost a soft launch for Star Wars, return to the theaters. I'll be honest, I have a hard time almost even thinking about this as a feature film, just knowing that The Mandalorian's been this show for so long, and I feel like this is gonna be a little bit of a no, I'm not gonna say like a cheaply made movie. It's not gonna be a cheaply made movie, but I'm
But
just wondering if it's gonna be because it's gonna have a substantial budget. But to me, it's gonna feel different than
yeah,
when the Ray movie comes in, and I know that this is gonna have every bit of care that they can put into making this thing look and feel like a cinematic experience. It does. It just feels kind of weird that movie is not the first movie we're going to go see or one of the others, and this one almost feels like a little forced. I'm excited. I was super excited for it, but
forced. I
it
see
is.
what you
It
did
just
there.
it does feel like that. But thank you, Manslayer. I agree.
No, no, that's where I'm at with this movie. It almost feels like this is going to be kind of. I feel like, look, I'm excited for it. Don't get me wrong. I'm excited to go sit back in the theater again to see Star Wars, but I can't help but feel just a little bit cheated. Like we're only going to get like 2 hours of Mando in this movie when we could have gotten a whole nother season. That's like 5 or 6 hours,
Yeah,
7 hours. You know what I'm saying? Like, and
right.
so I feel like this is just going to be like a little excursion thing compared to all the seasons we've seen so far. Like this is just nothing compared to like the first season or the second season, and I don't know, like
Mhm.
after seeing all these
I
seasons that were like 6 or 7 hours long,
Right.
total, and then you just get this little 2 hour like jaunt. It
Mhm.
does seem like a little cheaper.
I think that, like, for me though, I think they can actually just trim the fat a little bit though on the Mandalorian, because
Mhm.
I think
Right.
for a lot of people,
100%.
especially like in season 3, there are
Oh,
definitely some parts where you could definitely cut out.
some.
Um, we don't
I
have to
think
get
of
into
4
Cut
that.
out
episodes
Cut
that
out
didn't need to
some
be in
so
here.
we can include the Din Djarin Bo-Katan romance.
Oh
Like,
my
cut out
god.
some so we can include that in the chat. Please put the hashtag Dimbo,
Dinbo.
Bo-Katan, Din Djarin, Dinbo. I'm
I
all
like
about
Bo
it.
Jarin better.
Bo Jarin. Let's
Bo
go. I
Jarin.
love that too.
That sounds very
But
southern.
no, in the
Never
chat,
mind.
I'm curious, people, what your thoughts are on this Mando movie because I'm excited for it. But at the same time, I love seeing Star Wars in theaters. And so it's going to be great no matter what. Part of me wishes I knew and Disney would come out and say, maybe they will before the movie comes out. Is there going to be any more seasons of Mandalorian? Like, is this it? In If this is it, I would like to know that going in so I could feel the weight of that as I'm watching the movie. Like, not saying that these characters aren't going to be used again in some form or fashion, but it would be nice to know, like, hey, the show came to its conclusion in season 3, and this is it. Or it'd be nice to know, is season 4 going to happen as well to this Mandalorian movie? Or are they going to say, we're just moving the Mandalorian to theaters, and it could be how some of the Star Trek shows they run their course and then they made a movie and it's like, oh, this movie was really well received, let's make another one. And maybe we end up having a few Mando movies down the pipeline because they're easier to make. But as a fan, I would like to know, like, I just feel like if they came out and said the Mandalorian and Grogu is the culmination event for these characters and their story, that would just increase the stakes so much going into that theater because you would feel like there's Mando has no plot armor at this point. Like he could die in this movie,
Right.
but I don't think any of us are expecting either one of them to die or come to some horrible demise in this movie, because we know the Filoni movie's coming up and they'll probably make a cameo appearance there, or they're going to want to do more with these characters elsewhere. It would just be nice to have maybe a little more clarity. I know this isn't what we were planning on talking about tonight, but who cares? Great conversation. What do you guys think?
I would almost rather go into it blind and not know anything about season 4. Because like you said, then, because look, if they announce, hey, Din Djarin's going to come back in a season 4, well, then if he gets into a tight crunch in the movie and it's very suspenseful, you're like, well, he makes it out because he's going to be in season 4. So I would almost rather them not say anything at all until, the week after the movie comes out and say, hey, big opening weekend. That's great. We're doing season 4 of Mando, or, if he does something happen, if something does happen to him,
it just feels weird to make a movie and then say, yeah, and now we're going back and we're doing another
more
season.
Television. Yeah.
It's kind of weird. It just feels weird, especially if they're going to be connected. It's like, all right, you got to watch these. It becomes almost like how the Marvel stuff, you got to watch these 3 seasons and then you got to go watch this movie so you can understand season 4. But don't forget about the Book of Boba Boba Fett episodes.
Freaking season 2.5.
Like 4 and 5.
Yeah. Mando 2.5.
Jay, I'll let you have the last word on the Mando movie stuff.
I kind of actually wish that the Mandalorian and Grogu would be kind of the end of it. I think that that should be the culmination, in my opinion. I think that
for their story or the whole Mando stuff that's going on, or
for the Mandalorian, like you said,
yeah.
Din Djarin and Grogu can appear in other stuff, but I say I think they've kind of had their time by now. I think that once the movie comes out, I think that should be the peak, and then let them, give them a break. I don't think we need to. These are characters that we need to keep on seeing and seeing and seeing. Let them have a break and then bring them back in, here and there, and the other stuff.
I'm inclined to, 100% agree with you on that, and that's good because I definitely know I'm not going to be agreeing with you on things later today with Bad Batch, just based off a couple of quick exchanges we've already had about the episode. But that I really do think that's a really good point, Jay, because it feels like it, right? It feels like it because we have the season 3 ending, which resulted in the freeing of Mandalore. Mandalore is now back under control by the Mandalorians, and it feels like the full arc of the story has been played. Grogu was adopted officially by Din, and the Mandos have their planet back. And it feels like that story came to a conclusion, and now you can tell just a singular story with these 2 characters where you just want to tie up everything you want to with them in this epic theater event. That does feel like the perfect way. And then they're almost like the perfect characters to just jump into random stories here or there, because it's almost like Lone Wolf and Cub. Like they could literally be anywhere in the galaxy at any time doing whatever, because that's just the way it is. You could easily have them pop up in obviously the Filoni movie, but if they do other projects in this timeline era, which I'm sure they're going to do something, it does feel perfect. So this is a really good point, Jay. I have a book quick hitter we can do, or if you guys are ready for the Bad Batch, we can get into Bad Batch. Brian, I'll let you decide.
Let's do the book, because you know me, I'm a book guy. I like the books.
Actually, sorry, no, I lied. I forgot. We have something.
You're the
else.
devil.
I am the devil. I promise we'll do the book real quick then. But
God.
I'm sure you guys saw
good.
the crazy ridiculousness going on in Star Wars. Was this yesterday with the episode 10 nonsense circulating? Was that yesterday or was that Tuesday?
Yeah, I remember that now. Yeah,
okay. It was yesterday. Okay, with this random site out of nowhere saying that the Rey movie is going to be titled Episode 10, and I don't remember what it's like, rebuilding the order. I don't remember what it was, but they had another working title for it or something like that.
Yeah, New Jedi Order. Yeah,
there was so many people took it and ran with it, and it's just mind-boggling to me how you really think Lucasfilm is going to drop something like that to a bunch of randos that you've never heard of in your entire life? Are you kidding me? That's I mean, that's the equivalent of Dave Filoni hitting me up on my phone tomorrow going, "Hey, this is how X and X dies in the Bad Batch,
Right.
and I want you to go tweet it right now." And I go out there and tweet, and suddenly they're like, Tyler Bradshaw has this to say. And I'm like, who the hell is Tyler Bradshaw? Who the hell is people? Like,
Dave
what did
Filoni
you
just
guys
put him on the map.
when you saw that, did you initially go, oh my gosh, like wow, and then check yourself? Or did you see that and go, all right, another BS story circulating out there? Jay, what about you?
No, when I first saw that, well, actually, what threw me off was like I was seeing conflicting reports on my timeline because
Oh,
I
100%.
saw, yeah, I saw from source A being like new Jedi Order film dropping episode X or episode 10 subtitle, and then a few like sources later it's just like, oh no, it is called episode 10, or they are gonna put that subtitle in. And so it was just like, okay, whatever. I'm sure we're all just like a few hours later, we'll all figure it out,
Yeah.
and we'll all see like what the actual truth is.
If it
So
was going to be called episode 10, don't you think when they brought Daisy Ridley on stage and did that
yeah,
whole grand show, they
right.
would have been like, this is going to be called episode 10? Like, are you kidding me? Like, are you joking right now? Do you
And
really
they
think that they would leak that? It blows my mind.
they dropped the Roman numeral numbering a long time ago as well. Why would they
Right.
go back and like put it
Dick,
back?
Yeah.
It's just, oh, Brian, what did you think when you heard that?
I didn't care.
You
I
just
just
didn't care. I know you're
didn't
not
care.
doing this movie.
I can't.
just-
I look. So like
I just
me
hate
and-
the misinformation era
Yeah.
of everything that we live in. And
I-
it bothers me that we have to deal with this crap, but
Yeah.
also it bothers me that people will fall for that crap all the time, and to where we even had to put out a report saying that, hey,
Yeah.
you can't believe X and so and so on
Well,
the internet.
like the feral part of my brain, which is like 80% of it, was like instantly chomping at the bit, like going, because you guys have heard me and Paul go at each other about the whole Rey Skywalker thing, and that's a whole can of worms that I'm not going to open right now because we don't have the time nor the patience.
We have years to discuss this before the movie, Brian.
Yeah, so we're not going to do it tonight. But like the feral part of my brain kept going back and forth from, well, if it is episode 10, that means she is a Skywalker because this is going to be part of the Skywalker saga. But if it's not episode 10, then she's not a Skywalker, because if she's a Skywalker, then it would be a Skywalker saga film. So that it needs to be episode 10. And if it's not episode 10, then she's not a Skywalker. And my brain was just like going all over the place. And I'm like, I just need to drop it. I'm going to lose sleep tonight. And I ended up just like purging my brain of any knowledge of it. I just didn't care. Like it's better for my mental health and everybody's health around me that I just drop that completely and totally.
Which is just great that I brought it up now.
Yeah,
on,
it's great. See,
the live stream.
It rambled out and I couldn't even stop it then. So yeah.
All right, real quick. The Living Force comes out in, gosh, a couple months now. I guess a month and a half ish, because March is technically in about 30 minutes my time. March is about 30 minutes away. So it comes out mid-April, I believe, something around I think it comes like early April, maybe. It's around my birthday. I think my birthday's in April, so I'm like, oh, Living Force birthday, let's go, girlfriend. Make sure we listening this evening. Maybe I'll have to send her the link to the show and be like, hey, go to minute 28:30. That might help you out with something. Did we read the excerpt yet of Qui-Gon challenging the Order? Have we read it, or
no?
Are you going to read it?
No, I'm going in fresh.
Same. Okay.
Yeah.
I was wondering if any of us actually took the bait and went for it. And normally I'll read these little excerpts for a lot of the books, but for the rest of the High Republic books, I'm not doing it. And then for this one, I'm not doing it. So I wanted to know if anyone did, so we could have a spoiler-free review of the little bit that they kind of dropped. All I know was the headline we said was just Qui-Gon challenging the Order, which, do you guys, we have 3 book people in here. I know that we have instances where Qui-Gon it's talked about how he challenges the Order. Like it's discussed, like in Master and Apprentice, we see that like it talks about it a lot, but and Qui-Gon voices his frustration. But do we ever like actually see or read a direct like conflict with the Jedi Order, like in person, like he is challenging them directly, like in the council room chambers? Because in Master and Apprentice, he
He did in
does
episode 1.
do it. He did outside of the before any in
You're
book
talking about
form, in
outside
book
of
form.
that?
I'm
Oh,
talking about
okay.
in book form because in episode
We
1,
hear about it a lot. Yeah.
you know, we see it, and then Obi-Wan's like, "You be on the council." You know, we kind of
Yeah.
see it there, but like it's you know, it's noted that there's a long history of him doing this, so it's not as if that was a new occurrence. I'm trying to think, were there any occurrences like that? I know Master Apprentice we got a little bit, but there's not a lot of
Yeah.
Qui-Gon, you know, book stuff that's
No.
canon.
No, there's really not. That's why I'm excited for this one.
Mhm.
And,
Right.
and also for the Mace Windu novel that's coming out later this year too, because Qui-Gon is, even though it's a year after Phantom Menace, he's kind of a integral part of that book too, leaving a message for Mace Windu, and you know,
Mhm.
on the event of my death, go do this, you know. And so I think that's really interesting. We need more Qui-Gon stuff.
There's also the hyperspace stories
Yeah.
graphic novel from Dark Horse.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a couple of
Okay.
Marvel issues too, actually.
There, so not much. I grew up, the first Star Wars book I ever read, my dad read it to me. It was the Mark of the Crown, the Jedi Apprentice books.
That was a
back in the-
weird cover that had the weird like clip art
yes.
crown above his head. Yeah.
Used to own like all those Jedi Apprentice books, and then like the Jedi Master books with Obi-Wan and Anakin, and those were like the first Star Wars books I read. So we can move on to Bad Batch now. Actually, I'll let you know something tonight. I finished Defy the Storm, so
Oh, I hate
it comes
you.
out next week, and I finished it today. I've been putting it off for a little while. It's really good, but it's been
Without saying anything, where does it rate among the 3 that have come out so far for this phase for you?
so we had
Because I'm
3
getting ready
coming
to
out for this
start.
phase?
I'm getting. Well, we had Escape from
I thought
Valo.
we just had Eye of the Storm. Oh, Escape from Valo.
Yeah.
that's
So like because I'm getting ready to start I'm sorry, Escape from Valo tomorrow.
Mhm.
Before
right.
I'm going into phase 3. So where does it rank for you so far?
I
on
think
this
it's
phase?
number 3
3.
out of the 3. But I really enjoyed it. And the thing I liked about Escape from Valo was how I really like those like middle grade novels because they're just so easy to read, and they're usually the ones that present the
Escape
most
from Valo's a thick boy too.
yes, but they're usually the ones that present the kind of the most uplifting part of it, because it's like, okay, kids, we're gonna have a happy ending here typically. And I'm not saying that the middle grade now, I'm not saying that Defy the Storm has a non-happy ending. I'm not saying anything like that at all, but it's good. It's like all the High Republic. It's good. It's not gonna be probably my standout book from the phase, but I really enjoyed it. I mean, it took me. I mean, I read it today. I read it like one other day. I basically read it in 3 sittings. I mean, I sit down and read it 3 times. So like, obviously, I enjoyed it.
Okay.
The only thing I'll say about him is, it's coming for them. That's all I'm saying.
Well, the reason I'm asking is because you and I
quote
are
from the book.
You and I are
a
very
particular
close.
person, and
we're very eye to eye when it comes to High Republic stuff, basically book for book so far. And so that's why I was kind of curious to what your thought was on it.
It's really good. It introduces some absolutely wild stakes. It raises the stakes. It like by tenfold of what you're expecting, given some things that are unearthed in this, and it really makes you wonder where they're going to end up going with this, and just a couple of books that they have left, because they took the big can of like everything that needs to happen to wrap up with the Nameless now, and they said, all right, everything you know about the Force and everything you know about the Nameless and what's going on, let's just expand that times 10 with what's going on right now. And so it shakes you up a little bit. Okay. So you're going to have some fun with that. It comes out next week, Justine Ireland, Tessa Gratton. So I'll be writing my review for that this weekend, and you'll see that come out on the site next week. So let's get into it. Brian, do you want to punch that thumbnail up there? Because we're talking about the Bad Batch episode 4. And I don't know about you guys, but I had a blast with this episode. I don't think I liked it as much as, say, episode 3, where they all escaped and everything, because that was fun. But in terms of just rewatchability, I watched this. I went back and watched it a couple times. I watched it once yesterday, and I watched it even again a couple times today, just because I have fun. I just have fun watching this episode, and it was, it's when I felt like, oh, you could put that on again, and it's just it gives you those good Star Wars feelings. And so I want to know, where are we rating this one out of 10, Brian?
I'm gonna give it a solid 7. And full spoiler disclosure, it's getting a 7 because of the Rathtar that gets the Imperial governor.
Okay,
like
it was a
toward the end of it.
Rathtar. I thought
That's
it was
what
a
I was
Rathtar.
assuming it was a
I thought it
Rathtar.
was too.
So yeah, I was smiling ear to ear, and then followed up right by the thrusters knocking the stormtrooper off the guard tower. I was already just laughing. So yeah, no, I'm gonna give it a 7. It was a lot of fun. And full disclosure, I actually watched episodes 2, 3, and 4 tonight. Before we did this, because I'd only watched the first episode so far, and so I had to get caught up for tonight.
That's right.
So I watched episodes 2,
I
3, and 4.
That's
why I wasn't on last week, because I hadn't seen it. Yeah, and so yeah, I got all caught up tonight, and yeah, watching all those back to back, with their escape and everything like that, and then up to this is fun ride so far. Loving it.
You both ditched me again last week, and I was like, dang, they missed 1 week. We got back, and they missed.
We could have come on and talked about Bad Batch. We wouldn't know what the hell
again.
we
I was like, man, I ran them off or something again, But
you got bad.
Brian's
BO,
Brian's going 7. Jay, can you rate it out of 10? And not my body odor, please. But the episode.
So I did actually write the review up for the sites. I didn't score it, but I'll go ahead and score it here and go with Brian's score as well as a 7. I liked it.
I thought you were gonna go way low. I thought you were gonna go way lower.
No.
I really did. I thought you were gonna go way lower based on some of some
of our discussions earlier.
Yeah.
So
pleasantly surprised.
As I said in my review, though, I enjoyed it, but I think that some audiences and I could see how some people might consider this one to be a filler episode. I can see this one kind of being some people saying it's a more slower pace, and it just brings the pacing down, and some of the character choices being a little bit questionable. So that being said, again, I did actually enjoy it, and I thought it was a really fun ride. I think though that there are some aspects of this episode I personally would have changed some decisions, specifically even Omega, some of the things she does.
Nope.
Which I guess we will launch into if you want to go ahead.
We're gonna launch into. I want to in the chat. Let me know, what do you rate the episode? Why? I'm just because Jay said that, I'm going 7.5 just to give just to go a little bit higher.
Out of spite. This guy.
I'm going. The extra 0.5 is from Omega specifically, and how much I love her in this episode, and that 0.5 is just just to let her know that who really loves her, who really cares for her here at Star Wars Newsnet, and it is me, by the way. And so let's talk about Omega's character. So Brian, I'm gonna read you some quotes from Jay here, and I's exchange.
Oh no!
Here we go.
Oh no! Wait, what is this from? What is this?
This is from this episode. This episode.
Are you pulling from the messages from the Discord?
I'm pulling.
Unbelievable.
No.
This guy.
Chat.
Okay.
This is the Discord chat.
This is gonna be great. Okay.
All right. On me. So, oh man, where is it? Okay, so Jay talked about this. He talked about this in the review of the episode, but he was wondering. And now, Jay, do I have permission to share what you this? Do I don't want to expose you. Right. I figured.
Yes.
Brian's like, yes. Brian's like, yes.
Yes.
Come on. All right. So, basically, I feel like this was the episode that I was most annoyed with Omega. Is it just me? Not super pissed, but I was almost like, come on, Omega. Stop trying to help others and do the right thing. Am I alone on that one? Am I just a heartless jerk? Now, Brian, why is the answer yes?
Because she ends up learning that lesson by the end of the episode anyway. She's like, fine, we'll do it your way. And then she gets out of the way and he just starts shooting everybody. So she ends up getting over that. Yeah, she wanted to go get her hound, but you can't leave your dog behind. I mean, I think you gotta go after your dog, even though it's a trap. Even though it is, you still have to go get your dog.
I think Nate said, Brian, in the chat. Nate, who's been on the show before, he and is our like one of our lead guys at Star Wars News Net. He said, try telling a 10-year-old or 12-year-old girl to think rationally when her pet's involved or something.
Yeah, exactly.
but
it's totally realistic.
But before we dive too deep into it, let's give Jay the floor. Give Jay his moments to share with us why he hates Omega. I'm just kidding.
I
I'm
don't
sorry.
Go ahead and
hate
give yourself
Omega.
all the rope you need for us to hang you with.
But anyway, so what I get what you're saying, but maybe keep explaining it for me.
Okay.
Tell me.
So
pretend like I'm 5 and you need to make me understand this.
So like I get what they're trying to go for. Omega is like the pure character. She wants to help out everyone, right? But I think like there has to be there definitely has to be a line that like especially Crosshair in that episode needs to draw and say like, no, like we got to get out of here because we're wanted. We're being hunted down. And the thing is, and I mentioned this too in our Discord chats, Tyler, which is that
don't have any record of any other.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, just wipe clean. Anyways, no, I mean because the
loss
thing
of
is,
communications can only mean one thing: Jvasion.
So
I'm pulling up the Discord now.
Okay, so like in the episode, her whole philosophy is being like, we gotta help everyone. We can't hurt anyone, right? We can't have any like violence toward other people. The thing is, though, yeah, like I said, though, they're wanted people, and by her actions, by her like dogmatic philosophy of like not hurting anyone, she ends up hurting others in the process, right? I mean, like because
she's okay hurting the bad guys to some degree.
Yeah, I mean, like, okay, but that's a double standard. That's a double standard then. Like, if you say like, oh, like we can't hurt civilians, but then it's okay to hurt the bad guys, you're being a bit hypocritical.
Are you though? I mean, like if she's trying to protect her friends because an evil scientist is sending a bunch of goons after her, and she wants to take out the guys in order to protect her brothers. I mean, that's kind of the basis of Star Wars, isn't it? Like protecting
I'll say this.
What you love against the Empire.
I'll say this in Jay's defense. I'm going to play devil's advocate for just a second. It's kind of weird because we had the same thing happen in another show, and I'm pretty sure it was season 2 of Bad Batch, when they were like, we can only stun them. We don't hurt our brothers, only stun them. And then they just go in and start blowing them up with blasters. Like Omega did the same thing. Like she jumps on the ship in the 3rd episode and she like stuns the pilot and then just gets on the cannons and starts blowing the ones on the ground up like they're
nothing.
I
remember that. Yeah.
And so,
I was laughing at that part.
Why didn't you just like blow the brains out of the guy like in the cockpit and then like throw him out the way Crosshair did, which by the way, he died when Crosshair kicked him out of the cockpit. He died. He landed like a sack of meat.
He did, yeah.
Like so like it didn't matter. Like that's in Jay's defense. Sorry, continue. I'm gonna keep thinking about it. Continue.
I mean, okay, so by going back, okay, I understand that she cares for the Hound, and she has a good point in that the Hound actually did save them. They wouldn't be there if it wasn't for the Hound. But at the same time, by going back, you also put Crosshair at risk.
Mm-hmm. You know, like to go.
Yeah, but the thing is, okay, look, Lama Su is the one that, or not Lama Su. What's her name?
Nalase.
Yeah, thank you. She's the one that warned her, like, you need to leave, like, you need to get out of here as far away as you can. But she didn't go back for her. Like,
that's a good point. Yeah,
she didn't go back for her, but she will go back for the dog. So,
yeah, it's like, where's the line, right?
I'm sorry, Tyler. I think Jay's winning me over on this.
Here's
he's starting to.
Don't worry, you'll come around after I explain. Trust me. It's beyond just going back for the dog, because the first part of the episode, she says, when we go back, because they left others behind. Like there's other prisoners behind, the other clones. And I would assume that I'm going to infer that she would understand Nalase is probably in trouble for helping me escape. And Omega has been on enough missions with her friends and things like that where, Nalase told her to escape, and she's going to escape. And she got Crosshair out with her while she did it. And that was like part of the mission. But in her eyes, the mission is we have to get all of our brothers, all the clones out of the prison because what's going on there isn't right. And in her eyes, like, okay, we escape. Now we get help and we go back. And when it's probably her character and maybe some of the naivety that is around it is amplified in this episode because the point of this episode was getting Crosshair fully back into being someone that is willing to just kind of give up what is necessarily the smart thing to do for the greater good or simply doing what's right. I mean, what logic is there for a parent if there's like a tornado or a fire in the house, they get their family out and then they go back inside for their pet or their dog? But we hear about people doing that all of the time for the things that they love. If your dog is in there, like, you're going to do anything to go protect your dog. And Omega, when she thinks about, I would say she thinks about her time there. She spent 125-ish days in the prison. And she spent how many of those days trying to get Batcher to care for her or, like her and care for this dog. She gets this dog out. That dog saves her life and they wouldn't have been able to escape without it. She's like, no, I'm not leaving my dog behind. I'm 10 years old. I'm thinking like a 10-year-old. And she tells Crosshair to go. And Crosshair in that moment could have just done what he's done most of his life probably and be like, I'm on my own. I'm kind of a loner. I'm going to go do that. And if you recall earlier in season 1, Tech calls Crosshair. He's like a kind of a loner. He's rigid and unmoving and unwavering by nature. That's who he is. And now 2 seasons later, we're seeing Omega say, well, you go if you want. I'm going to do this. You do what you want to do. I'm going to do what I need to do. And Crosshair from season 1 would have been like, all right, see you later. But we see the full growth of Crosshair and how far he's come from his time with the Empire, with the Batch, through this girl, through this kid. And we've seen each member of the Bad Batch kind of go through this transformation through Omega. And so in the one episode, they have one episode together where it's just the 2 of them on the run from the Empire. And in this one episode, he kind of goes on an arc to where he finally has his moment with Omega to kind of change the status quo of his character and become who he needs to be for the remainder of the show. Even if it's going after this little dog that they need to save, even though the smart thing is for them to get out of there. That's what they needed to do because ultimately that's just what they needed to do. Boom. Drop the
Here's
mic.
the thing. I can't stand it in movies and TV shows. Maybe it's because I'm getting older now. I don't know. But I can't stand it when like there's this dire situation going on and there's like a 10 or 11-year-old kid involved and the kid won't shut up. And he's just like making it so much worse because, damn it, I want what I want. And you're just making it so much worse. And everybody's like, shut up. What are you doing?
Granted,
I just hope
where
that
would
kid
they
gets bitten in half by the dinosaur. Like do it.
Granted,
Do it.
How is Crosshair going to get off the planet with
I
the
don't-
credits that Omega just earned for them?
He was getting ready to go
by playing
bribe
cards?
the guy. He was going to go bribe the
right
the
with the
official
credits
again.
that who earned for
Hang
them?
on.
Oh, the
Tyler,
10-year-old kid. The
But-
10-year-old kid.
But before that, Crosshair was also ready to.
He was like,
go
I can
and
take on
sneak
half
in.
of them before
Yeah.
they even know what happened.
He was going to
she's
go
like,
and sneak
we're
in,
not
and
going
they were
to
going to
do it
go.
that way.
And there's
Yeah.
still the other half of them that are going to take them out. Did you see how many troops? So he's like, I could take half of them out right now.
Depends on which half he takes out first. Like,
Yeah, and it depends on like
Oh
their
my
approach.
gosh.
You can do it
You think they're
stealthily.
gonna storm that right there and get away? I mean, it's storming. Sure, they probably could, but like,
I
Of course,
thought he
at the
was
same time, though, Crosshair's not on his A game, though. He's kind of shaky right now, So, I mean, there's that too. I mean, there's a lot to kind of. I see.
thought
Look,
they were gonna,
I
like,
see.
sneak
I
on
see
board.
both
there is
sides. I see
something.
both
There
y'all's
is just
sides.
something beautiful about a Star Wars story where you are willing to not necessarily do what the logical right thing is and go with it. I love the aspect that despite what Omega just went through in the prison, she still is true to her inner self. She didn't become like a bitter survivalist in that prison. She's like, I'm not going to let what happened to me change who I am. And who I am is someone that is going to make sure that I'm protecting everyone I need to. And it makes sense given how much she's lost in she lives on Camino for this whole time, and then she's on her own with her brothers. She's lost Tech. She lost Echo for a little bit. Then Echo comes back, and now she lost Crosshair before she really had Crosshair. And then she's separated from them for essentially half of a year of our time, and one of her only connections is a dog and Crosshair, and that dog, like, it saved, like, I think it's like it saved her life. Like, Batcher saved her life. She'd
Right.
be on that,
Right.
and so.
But like there's no character development for Omega then. Like if she's
But
just
it's
the
not about
same
her.
infallible.
But it's not about her.
That's exactly
about
what
Cross-
it's about. That's what we're
No,
talking
it's
about.
about Crosshair. That episode.
Wait,
That
wait, wait.
episode's about Crosshair.
Yes. Okay.
That episode's about
the
Crosshair.
lesson is for Crosshair. Yes.
Right.
Right.
But at the same time, okay,
And
Like, I
Crosshair learns that
acknowledge-
lesson through Omega's actions.
I acknowledge
If
your
Omega
point,
said,
Tyler.
"Yeah, let's cut and run," what does Crosshair learn? If she says cut and run, what does he learn?
Andrew Haley, who just joined us, is probably like so lost. Anyways,
You didn't walk in at the
Andrew,
right time,
what
buddy.
you need to know is these two are a bunch of Omega haters, and I'm trying to set
No,
the record
look,
straight.
no.
Yes,
Do
that's
not
not what
start
we
like the
said.
false
Yes.
propaganda. Hang
That
on,
that
hang
is
on.
exactly what happened.
So, look, I see your points, Tyler, and I acknowledge them, and I actually do agree with them, and the fact that Omega, like, I totally get why she wants to go back for the Hound. You know, the Hound did save them. My issue is, if we're talking about, okay, so we're all in essence, we're talking a little bit about like ethics. I think that if your ethical philosophy, Omega's ethical philosophy is, we can't hurt anyone. Okay, like if that's your ethical philosophy, I think it needs to apply to everyone, including the stormtroopers that she put in danger and that she killed.
her
Let's
ethical
unalive,
philosophy, her ethical philosophy is, I don't want to hurt anyone if I don't have to.
But she was
Yeah, it
she was
is.
also
It is.
100% willing to leave Crosshair standing there to go find this dog. Like she was straight up about to pick a dog over Crosshair.
She wasn't
That's
picking
another
the
good
dog over
point, yeah.
Crosshair. She's not
She
picking the
was-
dog over
she-
Crosshair because she said, let's do this. She's like, you do what you need to do, and I'll do what I need to do, and I'll find my own way. It's not saying I'm choosing this dog over you. It's saying, are you going to choose me and choose us over, your own like personal ambitions, whatever that is. That's what I look at it. I think she's like, the family decision is we're sticking together doing this. It's also like, Brian, you have kids. Like,
Yeah.
how many times like is your kid?
And they
just
piss
like,
me
we're
off when
doing
they
this.
act the way they do. Like when they
Yeah,
act
and you
like
think
this,
Crosshair
it's
was happy
so
about going
annoying.
there? He wasn't.
And there's
happy
times where
about
I
going
don't. I'm like, kid, get out of the way. I've got to play Helldivers. Get off the TV. I don't care about your YouTube. Go. The war needs me. Like I'm, so I don't know. I'm unmoved. Like my kid will give me the lip. I'm unmoved by the lip. That crap doesn't work on me. I'm dad. It works on
just
my
cannot-
wife. It doesn't work on me.
I just find it hard in Star Wars. I just feel like in Clone Wars, when Anakin goes back after R2-D2, despite it being a terrible idea, he needs to move on, get a new droid. Did you guys hate that? Because it's very similar. He puts missions on the line to save R2. How many times
Yeah,
we
it was
saw
reckless.
we saw Hera do the same thing for Chopper.
It was
but those-
reckless.
like that's not the point, whether it's reckless or not. The truth is that for those characters, and what makes our heroes is that they are willing to not trade lives, trade situations to protect the things or the that they love.
So you're telling me if Chopper was like lost somewhere and Hera was like, we need to go get him, and Kanan was like, no, we got to go this way, and she's like, you go that way, I'm done, and she goes over to Chopper, like she's picking Chopper over Kanan.
She's not,
How is she not?
because Kanan's not in trouble on this. It's not
You
like
don't know
I have
that.
to
I
choose.
just made this
It's not- it's
situation up.
because-
You don't know
well,
that. I can make him in trouble.
because they're standing right in front of each other. You said that she's telling him.
So were
we have to go
they.
do this. So, that's why it's not choosing one or the other. It's not like she's sitting here and Kanan is trapped here and Chopper's trapped over here, and she goes over. It's like, I'm gonna go free my boy, Chopper over here. No, it's not like Omega was like, oh my gosh, I have to choose right now. She's like saying, in her eyes, it's not a choice. Like we got here as a group of three. We're gonna leave here as a group of three. Like we owe it, even though it's a stupid dog. we owe it to the dog because we wouldn't have gotten off that hunk of junk planet without the dog. It's not choosing.
Okay.
It's if Crosshair was locked in a cell on the other side of the spaceport, and Omega said, "I'm gonna go free Batcher, and then I'll go free Crosshair."
She'd have
Yes,
never
then
survived
I
it.
would, I'd have a problem with that, as the writer. But that's not what happened.
Okay. Okay. I'll let you have it.
It's not what happened.
Okay.
Oh, I will. I will. I feel as
No, I
passionately
see
about this.
I see both sides of it. I truly do. I see both sides of it. It's like things that Jay is saying irk me and things that Tyler's saying irk me.
Mhm.
But it is
It just
what
seemed
it
like
is.
it was true to Omega's character since the first time we saw her, and I
Yeah.
kind of like that, given that like she's had growth as a
The
character,
innocent
but
naivety.
it's and it's just like and she's with some brothers that have been through war, like they've
Yeah.
seen things that no one should probably have to see. They've lived through things that no one should have to live through, and the story is in a lot of ways about how each of them kind of finds their inner self and who they are out of being a soldier, like outside of being a soldier, through their like experience. And I thought this was Crosshair's experience,
Okay.
even if it's a
No,
little
I
thing
don't disagree
passive.
with you on that. Yeah. No. I
I'm
don't
fine with
disagree
it.
with you on it. Of course, at the
Jay,
same time, like that last episode we had that was a big Crosshair episode where he shot the captain or whatever,
Mhm.
and they imprisoned him. That right there was kind of the turning point for Crosshair. I
Mhm.
mean, you really didn't need to have don't get me wrong, I'm glad it was there, but you really didn't need the extra character growth of him having to choose between Omega or going on his own.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like, because he'd
I
already
agree.
made that choice
Yeah.
in the last
I
season.
disagree from the standpoint of that episode. This felt like a kind of a continuation of what happened there.
It
Like that
did.
episode
Yeah, it
was
did.
about him. Like, I'm standing up for myself, and I'm not an expendable asset. And then
Yeah.
this one was like, okay, I'm standing up for myself. I know I'm not this expendable asset, but who am I? Like, I'm not a soldier anymore. Like, who am I? And he's like, I'm gonna be this protector for this kid. And like that's what I am right now. Like, that's who I
But then
am, and
But
that's what I'm gonna
the
do.
final
But
scene,
I'm also going to just go along with what she wants. Like, I think he's just like, we're in this together, and that's the way it's gonna be.
but like none of the rest of the batch saw that. Like Omega is the only one that can speak to that, and yeah, Crosshair can know all day long that he made the right, made that choice.
Mhm.
But you see the way Wrecker and Hunter looked at him when he came down that
Right.
ramp and realized he was back. It was like, oh, and so
Mhm.
I don't feel like it now had like the rest of the batch been there to see a decision like that be made and actually saw it with their own eyes. I think it would have gone a lot further to kind of, fix their
Right.
relationship, which I'm sure is going to
Mhm.
happen later on, as we go on in the season. But I don't know. I just feel like they should have been there to see that pivotal point and not just have Omega tell them about it, because in their eyes, Omega is a 10-year-old girl that,
Mhm.
doesn't really necessarily might understand what she saw. You know what I mean? Because how many
Mhm.
times I have to explain stuff to her, and be like, this is the
Right.
way it is. We're soldiers,
Mhm.
and stuff. So I don't know. I just, like I said, I'm on the fence about it.
That's
And
fair.
it's like,
I would
yeah.
say that there's even more power in Crosshair not doing it with anyone around, because it's like, what are you gonna like? What are your actions when people are
Yep.
watching
And
versus
that's
no
a good
one's
argument too.
watching?
Yeah, that's true too. When nobody's watching, who are you really? Yeah, that's a solid point too.
And I'm really excited to see what I'm wondering if we're gonna see like the first conversation that they have. Like, what's that conversation look like, or is it the next
Is it going to cut
episode?
to them on the ship already? Like,
And it's like, okay, there's definitely still that tension, and we
yeah.
don't know what those conversations are like. Jay, what do you think about this question? Do you like the introduction of the TK prototype trooper armor after phase 2 clone trooper, or would you have wished the classic stormtrooper armor would have been the continuation of phase 2?
No, I like this introduction. I think it also bridges the gap between now and also Rebels.
Mhm.
When we actually do see more of like that classic McFarlane artwork. That's the original guy, right?
McFarlane, Ralph McQuarrie.
Ralph McQuarrie. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Marland.
I love me some Ralph McQuarrie. I actually made that comment tonight when we were seeing the stormtroopers. I was like, I love that they're just pure Ralph McQuarrie. I love it. And it works well.
It does.
As we blend in and kind of, you see the transition as we got. Yeah, I think it's awesome.
Some of the designs on this one, like some of the like one with the trench coat goggles, like
Oh,
some
that
of
was really
those
cool.
are pretty
Yeah.
cool.
It's very World War II-ish. Yeah.
Okay, so talk about naivety. I was for a few seconds kind of a naive little, you know, dingbat when I was for
Oh,
sure thinking.
so now Omega's being a dingbat by going after the dog. Okay,
No, I'm
gotcha.
saying I
I
am.
got
I
you.
am. I
Okay,
am. Just me. Just I'm
okay,
taking the burden off of her and placing it on myself
okay.
because I'm the big Omega fan in here.
Okay.
So when the Imperial let Omega have the credits there was like something, a part of me for like 5 seconds. I'm like, obviously there's gonna be a confrontation. But I was like, oh, maybe he's not half bad. Like he's trying to run this town like
Maybe
decently.
he's
Like he's
just an
actually gonna
idiot.
let it go.
Yeah.
And then and I was like, that can't be right though. That can't be right. But no, maybe because Omega's like, huh, you're actually gonna let me because he gives her the credit. Well played. And I was like, huh. And then 3 seconds later, he's like, you haven't paid your $10,000 dollar fine. And I'm sitting here going,
You were
what
just
why did I
gambling
even why did I
too.
even I'm like, why did I even think that for like a half second? Like I've seen the Empire in 100 iterations, and I'm pretty sure at this point there's no such thing as a good Imperial like anymore. So did anyone else just for like a quarter second think,
I
oh,
did.
that's
Yeah.
surprising?
That they were
Yeah.
gonna get away with it.
Not that they were gonna get away with it, just
Oh.
like even surprised, like, oh, he's
Oh.
Yeah.
giving him the money. He gave it the money.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That was nice of
I thought
him.
he was gonna let them go.
I don't know. I've read too many books, man. And all the moffs and governors just got
Or
dumb, fat, and happy. Like, you
Or
know what I
like
mean?
let
In
him
their own
go and
territories.
then
And
let him go and then find out later that the shuttle and then they're like, we gotta get him
that's
before they
what I thought
leave
was
or
gonna
something.
happen. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Instead, they
But then for him to pop
kidnap.
up and be like, I knew the whole time. Like, did you?
Yeah, you thought
Did you
I
really?
wouldn't figure it out. Like, well, then they took. What did you guys think of the zoo that they have going on there?
I felt
Like
very
all of
like
the
Jurassic Park-ish.
It did, and it also sounded like a few of the same sound effects.
It did, yeah.
Yeah.
It really did.
like when they let all the creatures loose and they're just all just running out and just trampling people.
Yeah.
I was thinking to myself, what do they need all of these things for? Like what is the purpose
They were gonna
of
feed the
this?
Rathatar, man. They
They're
were
gonna feed the
feeding the
Rathar
Rathatar.
all
Are we
these.
wait, are we sure that was a Rathatar? Because that's what I walked away from it as,
I don't think we're
assuming it was.
sure. I thought it was a Rathar too.
Mhm.
Like it was like the big crate. It had like the growling. I don't think that
Yeah.
the sounds were exactly the same as what we've seen before, but it
But the
sounded.
tentacles looked a
And
lot.
then the tentacles.
Yeah.
And what else would be that scary and
Right.
that
And then
large?
and considering like the episode before that, we had the giant tentacled vine creature.
Oh, my
You know what I'm talking about? Like the
Episode
weird,
2.
like,
The slither vines.
yeah. And it was like, I'm telling you, man, they said the Empire made those. There's Drengir DNA there. There's Drengir in those. I'm telling you right now.
I would wish like one of you were because I wanted to talk. I was mentioned the drink gear last week too, and I was like,
Yeah.
I know
As
that
soon as
Brian
they
or Jay
started
would have thought
slithering,
that
I was like,
too.
oh, like, there's
I'm like, we
Drengir.
have. Let's go, evil plants. Let's go. That's so good. Real quick before we get out of here, what did I don't really we didn't get a chat last week. So what did you guys think of the first 3 episodes like that they
Oh, it was
dropped
great.
last?
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved it so far.
Yeah, I mean, I think like we mentioned episode 3. Episode 3 is great, of course, because like it has all those big moments, Necromancer, Emperor, all of
Right.
that. I really enjoyed episode 1. Like the
Mhm.
slow, methodical breakdown of just the place and getting to know the place and seeing Omega age. That was so well done.
Yeah.
I 100% agree. It just how sad it was just seeing her keep looking out the window and
The tally marks.
everything.
She's doing the
Mhm.
Ray thing with the tally marks, and yeah,
What
like
did
even
you think,
scratch
Brian?
them and rah, rah, rah. No, I've loved the entire all 4 episodes so far. I love the first 3. I loved episode 3 though. I thought that was a great. Anytime you bring in Big Papa Palpatine, I'm gonna get excited, and it's probably gonna be my favorite. I love Palpatine so much, and then when she's like talking to Omega and she's like Project, and I'm like, say Necromancer, say Project Necromancer, and then she got cut off, and then later when the Emperor shows up, he's like Project Necromancer. I'm like, he said the thing. We're doing it, and and you don't get to see the clone in the tank though. Like I was just like, oh come on, like really, like the Emperor's sitting there looking at it, but you're not going to show it to us. Like come on, like they're saving it for this big reveal, and it's going to have to. Look, they've been teasing this cloning thing for years, right? And like Mandalorian with the Bad Batch, they've been, obviously with the Clone Emperor and Rise of Skywalker, and all the Snoke clones, they've been teasing this whole cloning thing for, years. And I think maybe this is going to be the show where they finally reveal what it is that they're doing. I mean, we know what the plan is, but to actually reveal it and like in all of its, dead glory, it's going to be amazing. And I got so excited when I heard Project Necromancer and the Emperor comes. I was giddy, dude. As soon as he came out that ramp, I was like, yes, bring it on.
What do you think's in the vault?
In the vault.
When he takes Palpatine back in the
Oh,
vault,
when they opened it?
Yeah.
I think it was one of the clones. I think it was one of his clones.
Because we saw like all the little like pods almost set up around, and they looked at it. You think it's one of Palpatine's clones? Yeah.
Because he said that
I was wondering if it's
he said they had successfully like merged the M count. They got the right M count to replicate his M count, with the blood and everything, and they used Omega's blood for it. Which that's a whole nother thing we can talk about later, is the fact that she has midichlorians. But I think it's awesome. I think he's looking at clones
like
of himself.
Different failed clones. I think so too. I think whenever we see the little drops that come in, the different blood samples, I think it's like Palpatine's blood.
Yeah, absolutely. That means somebody's coming into the Emperor's office every day, and they're like, "Time for your morning drain," and they're like taking the blood samples out of him and stuff, and then taking off. And every day he's like, "Oh, not again!" Like he's rolling his sleeve up, and
it's Masa Meta's like coming in and with his little walking, his thing. He's like, "Order, blood. We shall have blood."
If you're good today, my lord, you'll get 2 applesauces.
Palpatine's is scared of needles.
Stupid. Yeah, that's right.
Like,
no.
If someone sticks in the wrong way, you will die. How many people how many like nurse practitioners do you think he's gone through that have taken his blood sample the wrong way?
Like, bring me another.
It's like when you get promoted on Vader's Star Destroyer, you're like, no, I don't want to be promoted. Like, how many people do you think he's gone through?
I love it.
Yeah, so it's really exciting. What I said last week, I'll say it one more time, was that I just love how it seems like in this little story about a girl whose family is doing everything they can to save her and escape together. Like, this one kind of little story is going to be maybe what actually thwarts the Empire from being able to successfully clone Palpatine and save the galaxy, which is kind of funny at the same time. Like, it's really awesome that that's where the story could be going, but it's also it's pretty funny too, but like in a good way. We'll get through some of these last few comments here.
Yeah, I like this comment though, because as somebody who does not like The Rise of Skywalker,
hold on, let's read it real quick for audio people too.
Okay. Like, does The Rise of Skywalker work a little better with what we know so far and what we eventually know?
Yes. Hit it, Brian.
So, full disclosure, in case you guys didn't know, in case you guys have been living under a rock, I wasn't a fan of The Rise of Skywalker. And the fact that they really and the fact that they have to have all this other stuff, it's like what you said earlier, Tyler, like you have to do your homework to know what's going on in this one. It shouldn't be that way. You know what I mean? The movies should be the main trunk of the tree. Then you got all these other stories branching off. You shouldn't have to have these tiny branches holding part of the trunk up. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I feel like, I feel like it does help supplement The Rise of Skywalker, in my opinion, but it was still so like out of left field just to get to the last movie in the saga. Oh, we're cloning, like, again, and so it's like, what? So it does to a degree, but at the same time, it should, in my opinion, it shouldn't have to be that way. You shouldn't have to have an animated show, 6 years after the fact, explain what was going on in the movie then. You know what I mean?
I agree. Yeah. I agree with Brian.
So I agree to a certain point, absolutely. I will say I kind of agree with what Manslayer's saying here, but like Star Wars has always kind of worked like this, retroactively patching and reinforcing its stories. Like, with Clone Wars did a ton of that for, some of the prequel stuff. And now we're seeing it some. He says, the problems of Star Wars usually resolved with more Star Wars, which is fantastic.
True. That's true.
And so I think that the Clone Wars does a lot of that for me for Attack of the Clones and like filling in the gaps there. I will say it's not as necessary though as I think some of these shows are for the sequel trilogy, just because of, and I think we're all fans of the aspects of the sequel trilogy, for sure. Like I don't think anyone in here is like just an outright I hate the sequel
Yeah,
trilogy.
those
Like, we
end
all,
credits are awesome. Sorry.
I hate you so
Sorry.
much sometimes, Brian.
I know.
No.
That's okay. Let the hate flow through you.
But with that being said, and I think I liked Rise of Skywalker more than most, but it's still like my second least favorite Star Wars movie. So I'm clearly not like someone that's up here going, I love this movie, like someone like Paul. But at the same time,
right.
I will say that it needs a little bit more patchwork to make some of this work, because I think the story that it introduces can work. It's just, and it's like what I've always said with Rise of Skywalker is it just needed more time in the oven. It was a little half baked. Wasn't quite
just like his clones.
Just like his clones.
Oh. But you know what? The other thing about it though is like with Rise of Skywalker, you know how that project ends. And so now seeing them, making these breakthroughs and stuff, you're like, so what? I already know he's not going to win. Like, and so it's like, what's the point of going back and telling that story now? But it's along the same lines.
You can say that for
doing the thing with the prequels and the classic trilogy, saying, well, Anakin's a 9-year-old boy, but I know he's going to turn in to this guy walking around in an iron lung Darth Vader. Like, I know that's going to happen, but I just don't know how. So, I mean, it's got its pros and cons.
And it doesn't change it. It doesn't change. It just all depends on the story that you tell.
I feel like it does change Vader
how
a little
you.
bit.
I'm not saying Vader. I said it doesn't change how you like. It doesn't change how, if you tell a good story, know that's going to happen, and it's still gonna punch you in the gut and hit you if you tell a good story. Just like we know that this cloning thing's gonna fail, so it's like, well, we know this is gonna fail. Why is this? Like, it just depends on like what is the story that they're telling. They're telling a good story right now.
Yeah, and it's it supplements too, the same way the prequel trilogy supplements the classics, where when we saw the classics originally, Vader was just this big tough guy. He was the muscle. Wasn't even the villain in the original Star Wars movie. He was the muscle. Tarkin was the real villain. And then you go back and watch the prequel films and you realize Vader was the victim the whole time. And it's like, it changes the way you look at those a little bit. So yeah, I mean, retroactively, they do a lot of this plot hole covering up thing, like the Death Star flaw and all this stuff. But I like this comment too. Where was it? Right here. Lucas said Star Wars is meant to be seen chronologically. And so that's a really good way to look at it too. You start talking about, and then this will be the last thing I say, I promise. But it's kind of like when the whole Cad Bane thing, when he popped up in Book of Boba Fett, and everybody's like, he doesn't look like he did in Clone Wars. Well, yeah, I mean, he was a cartoon and now he's going to look different. I mean, none of the live action people look exactly like they did in Clone Wars. So there's going to be differences. And had stuff come out the opposite way, like had the live action version come out and then that was the Clone Wars style they did, you'd have been like, okay, cool, that's Cad Bane, So it all depends. It's from a certain point of view. You know what I mean? Like what order you watch everything in. So I like that comment a lot. It meant to be seen chronologically. I like that.
Absolutely. Jay, any final thoughts on the Bad Batch, on the Rise of Skywalker, which I did not know? I guess it makes sense to be getting into considering the cloning aspects, but I didn't know we go that much into Rise of Skywalker tonight. You never know what you're gonna get.
Yeah, for sure. I'll say this: like, I have my full thoughts. For anyone who's interested, I have my full thoughts on like my review. So for the Bad Batch.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about Rise of Skywalker, and I'm sitting here going,
no.
Are we about to have we're about to go like another hour. Like I was like, we're about to have another hour debate on the Rise of Skywalker. Jay was about to say, I'm actually killing off Ben Solo in the Rise of Skywalker or something,
No, so for the Bad Batch though, if anyone's interested, like intrigued on knowing what else I have to say, it's up on the site. So
yeah, Jay wrote the review for episode 4. Are you writing next week's, Jay?
No, I think that's Sydney or Josh. I have to go double check.
Okay,
but I will
I'll
be
look at the schedule.
Doing the next 3 weeks after that. So you'll be hearing a lot from me.
Okay, good. I'm looking forward to finding, things that I can take out of context to try to make you upset.
Even more heated arguments.
I'm just kidding. Jay, you want to plug anything in here before we get out of here?
Yeah, absolutely. So I do have my own YouTube channel that I run and operate called Good Games Dude. This week, just uploaded it today, is a video talking about Devil May Cry 5. It's the 5th anniversary of that game, and I talk about why it's a gaming essential. So please go ahead and check that out if you'd like to. And if you'd also like to check out some of my other work, you can find me at utini.com, where I'm also a contributor there. And of course, here at Star Wars Newsnet.
Brian?
You guys can go check out my website, starwarscanon.net. We finally got the entire chronological canon timeline put together. The Legends timeline is there for anybody who wants to dip their toes into some Legends stuff. And we're also going to be adding a tab for in-universe mythologies. So stuff like the myths and fables, the dark legends, stuff like that, stuff that's in universe. So we're going to be adding that tab here pretty quick. But go check that out. And you can find my show there, the Star Wars Canon Podcast also.
For me, you can follow me on Twitter, or I guess X. I can't call it X. I can't get into it. At Tyebread5. You can follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, because the timeline show that Brian and I do drops every Monday. We're going through every single canon story in Star Wars. Everything from obviously the films, shows, books, comics, graphic novels, you name it, and every single thing. We're going through it in chronological order. So right now we're in the year 382 BBY. Tomorrow we're going to get together and talk about some High Republic Adventures comics tomorrow.
Yeah.
So you can check that out. Leave a 5-star review there on Apple. That'd be great. We just got that going. And Spotify, obviously you can catch this show on there as well. We'll probably be getting some other just random shows, on there as time goes on. We're still figuring out what that's going to look like, but the timeline show and Star Wars Newsnet Live will be on there twice a week. As far as other YouTube content, just stay tuned to the channel. I dropped a short this week. I was really curious. I want to know what you guys think. I asked everyone, I want to know what everyone's favorite Battlefront memories are, because they dropped the news that they're bringing back the OG Battlefront games.
So excited for that.
I want to know, in the YouTube channel, please like and subscribe to the channel, please, so you can stay up to date on everything that we're doing. But go check that short out. I shared my favorite Star Wars Battlefront memory, but I really want to know, what do people remember most from those games? Because I think for a lot of us, those are some of the pinnacle of Star Wars video games that everyone I talked to that was, playing video games during that time has some sort of strong connection to them. So I would love to know what everyone's thoughts are on that. I am so excited. This isn't Star Wars related at all, but actually, before I say that, Defy the Storm, I'll be writing my review for Defy the Storm book, High Republic book, that comes out next week. You can check that out next week. And I am so excited to go see Dune Part 2 this weekend in non-Star Wars news. Yeah. I'm just so
Ghostbusters
excited.
in 3 weeks, baby.
Ghostbusters in 3 weeks. Dune Part 2
I won't be on in 3 weeks. I won't be here in 3 weeks
because you're going to go see.
Because I'm going to be watching Ghostbusters. Yeah.
Yes, that makes sense. Of course, I don't blame you whatsoever. I'm seeing Dune on Sunday. I cannot wait. Follow Star Wars Newsnet wherever you are on social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, whatever, YouTube. We are there. Please keep in touch with us for all things Star Wars, everything from books. There's going to be a lot of movie news coming out soon. Appreciate everyone in the chat today. Thanks for tuning in. Any final words, anyone, before we get out of here?
No.
I think we're good.
I think I said enough. I think I pissed off enough people. So
we got Brian's weekly anger session to people. You can get it out. Always a good place to share whatever thoughts and feelings that we have, because it's just
my
live
coworkers
to the
are safe for another week.
There's no consequences for anything that we say.
It'll never come back and bite me it'll never. Nobody. So we're good.
As always, thanks for tuning in, everyone. We'll see you next Thursday for Light and Life. This is it.